In this video, I'll show you how to get Python installed on your machine and verify that it's working correctly. First, you might ask, what is Python? Well, Python is a general-purpose programming language. It's a language that we can use to tell the computer how to solve our problems. It's both beginner-friendly and used professionally. It has an extensive library of support, which makes it the favorite of some fields like machine learning and data science, all of which just means to say it's very easy to get started, and it's also going to be a valuable language for you to know later on in your lives and your careers. The first step to becoming familiar with Python is becoming familiar with the command line. This might seem a little intimidating at first, but by the end of this video, you'll be able to navigate around your computer using just text commands. You're probably already used to clicking around your computer using the File Explorer on Windows or the Finder on a Mac. The command line is just another way of interacting with the same files and programs, but instead of being point and click, it's text-driven. It's a fast and powerful skill that can be super useful in programming and will make you feel a bit like one of those hackers in the movies. Here we're only going to scratch the surface of what can be done with the command line. For some extracurricular insights, look for the command line crash course on the course homepage. First things first, you need to open the command line on your computer. If you're using Windows like me, you'll want to open the PowerShell application. Just click on the Start menu, type PowerShell, and hit Enter. If you're on a Mac, you can open what's called the terminal through Launchpad by pressing Command Space, typing in Terminal, and hitting Return. In either case, you should see a mostly blank little window filled with a bit of text, a prompt, and a blinking cursor waiting for your commands. The first command that you need to know is the ls command, short for list. This command lists all the files and folders stored in your current location. Now, your command line terminal most likely opened in the default location. This is called your home directory. It's the top level space where most of your personal files and settings are stored. On Windows, this is usually inside c/users/yourname. On a Mac, it's usually /users/yourname. From here, everyone's system will be organized a little bit differently, but everyone should have a folder for this course. So to change your current location, we can use the cd command, which stands for change directory, so cd. And then we can type in the name of a folder. So I can type in doc, for example, and then just hit tab to autocomplete. This autocomplete will fill in the line with whatever folder names are in the current location that match what I've typed so far. We hit enter. Notice that the prompt is changed to reflect this new location. And if we use ls again, here we can see the list of contents are different as well. Now, if I want to go back up to the directory I just came from, I can type cd ... to go back up a level. The two dots here is a special phrase in terminals, which means the folder above this one. We can also provide a path of folders to follow all at once. So instead of a single folder, just the entire list of folders that we'd like to move through. So for example, on my machine, the code for this course is stored in CD. It's actually on the B drive /Dropbox/CS fall current year, current course, under the chapters, chapter 1, and then I actually have video 1, and then it's called the code folder. Make this a little bit bigger so we can see it all. There you go, all in one line there. Notice because there's spaces in my path here, it's all needs to be included in quotes, but otherwise it's just the cd command and then the location we'd like to go to. So starting from the very top of my tree down to the location where it is. And notice the prompt is changed to match that, and if I list the directory, now I'm in a new folder that has some Python code in it. If you'd like, you can also go back home with the tilde, so you can say cd and then the tilde shape here, the top corner of your keyboard. Hit enter, and notice the prompt has put me back home. If you would like to reuse your command, so instead of having to type all of that line out again, I can just press up on the keyboard. So if I press up a few times here, I get my previous command back, and then I can switch back into the code folder and list that, and I'm back here again. Other things to know, if you ever need to know this, you can refer to the current folder with a single dot. So for example, I can say cd ... to accomplish absolutely nothing, or I can say ls ... to point the ls command at the current folder, which it already does by default. So play around a bit with these commands, and once you've gotten used to moving around using your keyboard, find your code folder for this course, or make one if you haven't already. To make a folder in the command line, you can type mkdir, which stands for make directory. So I can say make directory, I'll call it new folder. And now if I look at the current directory, I have the house Python file that was there before, and now this new folder. If you've made a folder or file that you don't need, you can use rm to remove it, but be very careful with this. because it is not undoable. It doesn't put whatever you're deleting into a recycling bin, it deletes it completely. So if I say rm new folder, since it's empty, it's not going to complain about this, and it just deletes it right away. If there's stuff in that folder, it'll ask if you're sure. There are lots of other basic commands available like cp and mv to copy or move files respectively. Many of these commands are the same between Windows and Mac, but please note there are differences between these two terminals, so not all the commands will be the same. For example, to clear the screen on a terminal, you would type clear, but in Windows you can type cls. Once we have the command line up and running and have a basic grasp on how to use it, the next thing to do is to check if we have Python already installed. To do that, we just type in the word Python. So at our command line, if we just say the word Python and hit enter, if that pops up with 3 dot something, so it says Python 3.11 on my machine right now, then you're good to go. The minor version doesn't matter here as long as it's Python 3 dot something. You can close Python again for now just using the exit command in Python. So you can say exit, and now we're back out into the operating system. If when you typed in the word Python, you got an error saying Python's not recognized, like if I just say some garbage like this, you get an error saying that the command you entered is not recognized. If it does that when you type Python, this means that you don't have Python installed, or at least not installed correctly. For Mac users, if Python didn't open, or if it opened but it says Python 2, then try typing in Python 3 instead, so Python with the number 3 at the end of it. If that works, then you're set. Just remember to use Python 3 whenever I use Python throughout these videos, but if that didn't work, then you still need to install Python. To install Python, go to python.org, and under the Downloads panel, click the big yellow button. This will download a version of Python installer for your operating system, which if you run it will bring up a little installer wizard that makes it pretty easy to do. The reason I want to show you this in a video is because there's a very important checkbox you need to make sure you click when you installed it. Add python.exe to path. What this does is it allows the operating system to know where you've installed Python. So when you type the word Python into PowerShell, it knows to run python.exe. Make sure that box is on, click install now, or if you want, you can customize the installation to your liking. I'm going to cancel because I already have Python installed, but follow through those steps and then go back to your terminal. If you've just installed Python, then you should make sure to close and reopen your terminal window to make sure you're working with a fresh environment, and then we can check on our Python installation. So again, just type the word Python, and it should show up with the most recent version that you just installed. Now, if you have any issues or troubles getting Python installed or verified, please see myself or one of the course staff, and we'll make sure that you're ready to go. And now that we have Python installed, the next step is to actually use Python. So this Python application is more accurately called the Python interpreter, and that's because its job is to interpret our Python commands on behalf of your computer. So there's two different modes of running Python. One is called the interactive shell mode, and the other is called script mode. Both modes are using the same Python interpreter. The difference just depends on whether or not we pass in a script to run, or if you just call Python on its own. So let's start with just the interactive interpreter for now. So in our terminal, we've opened Python. We've just typed in the word Python. So the interactive mode, or the shell mode, starts with this prompt here. These 3 chevrons let you know that Python is waiting for you to type in some statements in the Python language. Now, we haven't covered any of the Python commands yet, but for now we can just try it out by entering basic math commands and using Python as a sort of command line calculator. So we can do things like say 1 plus 2. We hit enter, it tells us the value is 3. Or we could say 4 times 10 minus 4, and it tells us the value is 36. We could also say print hello world with quotes and brackets just like this, and it prints out hello world back to us. So every time we enter an expression, the interactive Python shell computes it and tells us the result. This can be really helpful if you just want to try out short snippets of Python code, or if we want to interact step by step with the interpreter's environment. But usually, when we're running Python code, we're going to be using so-called script mode, also known as normal mode. So let's exit interactive mode. We can do so by typing exit with 2 round brackets afterwards. And that brings us back to the operating system. To use script mode, first we need to create or download a Python script. Now, Python scripts are just plain text files, but instead of calling them something.txt, we give them the extension .py for Python. We can make new Python scripts using any basic Notepad program, which, if we want, we can do from the command line. So I can say notepad, and I'll say hello.py, file that doesn't yet exist. And if you're in Windows, that will open the Notepad program. It pops up on a new screen asking, do you want to create this file? I'll say yes. And now I have a blank Notepad document where I can enter text if I want to, and save it as hello.py. If you're using a Mac, it's a bit different. To create a file from the terminal, you would type the word touch and then the name of the file. So you say hello.py, for example. And then once that's created, you can just say open hello.py to open the file in whatever its default app is. You can also make these basic text files through the File Explorer or Finder or through your favorite text editor. However you do it, we just need to have a blank text file in front of us stored in our code folder. So if I press ls in the code folder, we can see we have hello.py. It has currently 0 size because there's nothing in it, but let's fill it with something. So create a plain text file and open it in any text editor. Make sure you're not using a heavyweight document processor, something like MS Word, for example. These may look like just text, but all the colors, tables, and effects result in more complex file types, which the Python interpreter won't understand. So we create a plain text file, open it in a text editor, and we put some Python commands inside. For a conventional first program, we can use the code print hello world. So the word print, round brackets following it, and inside those round brackets, the quote hello world. Now, make sure you save this file, so Control S here, and then go back to your command line. So if I relist this directory, we can see now hello.py has something in it. It's no longer 0. Now to run this file, we type Python as we've done before, but instead of just running the interactive shell, we pass in the name of our script. So we'll say hello.py. And it prints out hello world and then returns us back to the operating system prompt. Note that it didn't put us into an interactive Python prompt, the 3 chevrons there, waiting for more Python commands. In script mode, Python runs through the instructions in our file and then terminates. So script mode is useful for larger programs. This may be a bad example because it's a single line of code, but eventually you'll be writing files that have hundreds of lines of code in them, and this is how you'll run them. They all run the same way. In future chapters, we'll also look at a more coherent environment. That is to say, we'll gather all of these different windows and operations into one place. But for now, just know that Python is a program on our computer that reads our files, our programs, and tells the computer how to follow them. So let's now take a look at a larger example. So this is an example of a more fully fledged Python script, and I've opened it in a notepad editor called Notepad++. You're not expected to understand it yet, but you can download this script from the course website, then you can open it and view it in your favorite text editor, run it with a Python interpreter, and, if you like, you can modify the code yourselves and rerun it to play with the results. Now, relative to the rest of this course, this is a medium-sized program, I would say. It's around 200 lines of code long, although that doesn't accurately tell us anything about how complex it is. This program is a preview of many of the concepts that we'll learn throughout this course, so eventually it should all make sense, but at this stage, you're not expected to understand it. But even as a preview, there's value in reading code that you don't necessarily understand, particularly if it's well-written code with effective comments and a clear structure. Writing programs you can think of like a dialogue between a human and a computer. It's as much about expressing our ideas to the computer in a way the computer can understand, as it is expressing those ideas in a way that we ourselves can understand. So even without any prior coding experience, you might still understand a substantial amount of this program. So you're encouraged to download the code, maybe pause the video here and scroll through it a bit. I'm not going to walk through all of the code here, but I've written and tested this code already. So for now, let's just run the code and see what it does. So we go back to our PowerShell. We can use list to make sure that we're in the right spot. Now we can see house.py in our current folder. That means we can pass that into the Python interpreter by saying python house.py. Hit enter to run this file, and when we do, a new window pops up. And gradually a drawing of a house scene appears. So this program, all the code here, contains the instructions to create this drawing using a Python library known as Turtle Graphics. If we like, we can try making some changes to the code. For example, I can take this 140 and make it a 240. It's a good idea to try and predict what we think this will do to our output. So I changed a line that says garage width equals 140, and I set it to 240. So one might assume that this is going to make our garage wider. Then we save our file, go back to our command line. If our Python command is still running, that means our window is still open. We have to close this to make sure that that's finished. Now we could say python house.py, and we get a new version of the same drawing. And notice this time we have a very large pink garage door. So scroll through this code, see if there's anything you want to change. Maybe you dislike the colors or want to resize the windows. Try changing the values that appear to be related to your goal and see what happens. If you mess up the program, you can always undo or re-download the file and start over. So have fun with this, break things a little, and explore as you will. We'll start back at the basics in future videos, but it's also really helpful when learning to code to have something complex and engaging that's already complete, and then try taking the parts apart to see how they work. Okay, so make sure you can get all these things up and running, that you have Python installed, that you can run Python, that you're using Python 3 when you run it, and that this demo can work when you attempt to run it as well. If you have trouble with any of these steps, make sure to reach out to the course staff and we will provide you with the help you need. If Python programming all seems unclear at this point, please don't worry, that's because we haven't really covered any of it yet. This was just an introductory overview for the course. So stay tuned for more information in future videos, and I will talk to you in the next one.